It's here, it's arrived. It's the iPhone 11 Pro Max Natural Titanium Color. We talk about it, then unwrap it. Hello and welcome to Cyril's Test Channel. We're talking tech, photo, audio, video and Apple here. So today we're going to talk about the iPhone. Not just any Pro Max, it's the model I take every year. I'm a widescreen person, so I'm on the Pro model for video and photos. And this year I've taken the new color for the test. Natural titanium. Natural titanium if you prefer. So what's it going to be like? Well, we're going to unpack it, look at it, compare it. I'm going to do some initial tests. It's really going to be a first impression, that sort of thing. And then there'll be a second video where, well, I'll push the photo, video and recharging aspects a little further maybe, so I can really try it out to the max. I'll sand it down, as they say, to give you some feedback on this product. We don't waste time at the unbox right away. So here it is. You see here at my iPhone 14, which will be filming the unboxing part, special dedication to those who love the top view, or Walter, just for you. We're going to unpack it, we're going to enjoy it, the usual little unpacking. The two little tabs as usual. Oh! Here it is. This grey is pretty, so it's a slightly darker grey than if we'd taken silver. It's beautiful, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. We'll look at this in more detail later. For those of you on this side, here you can see slices just before you actually unwrap it. I'll show you here. We love it. Right there. USB-C, USB-C. For those of you who are here, USB-C, USB-C. Okay, braided cable. It's not a bad braided cable, so USB-C, USB-C. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to take it. That's not the point. I would have liked the cable to be grey on the silver version, white on the black version, and blue on the blue version. It seems that the cable is always the same colour. Well, maybe I will. They managed to do it on iMacs. Too bad he didn't do it on the iPhone. I really would have found that the little extra something. After that, the usual stuff. Let's put it aside. It's here, it's beautiful, it's warm. He's not hot, just kidding. It's really beautiful. The usual buttons. First thing, we're on the outside, this button here, which is no longer just a button. You know, I call it a switch or the switch. Silent vibration. No, it's become a button. Finally, listen to these famous edges here to get the focus right. These famous edges here are no longer polished, but a little brushed, which still, because, yes, they do pick up fingerprints a little. This is light. Perhaps the darker black or blue areas will show fingerprints a little more clearly. This is still one I really like. There's a lot less fingerprints and a lot less fingerprint type elements and so on. In any case, we see them less drawn. Now, let's face it, it does take a little time. Come on, let's take the paper off here. Okay, the grip is a little bit different because of the metal. At least the feeling. It's not the grip, it's the feel so far that's slightly different. I turn it on. As you can see, it starts up. We have our famous USB-C and Lightning connectors. So I'll skip the configuration side, get used to the country, etc. The time it takes to put everything in place, for me to enter the few passwords, and then we meet up again. So how long will it take to update? Well, the Pro Max. Max, 15 Pro Max. Well, mine's black, a graphic as you like. Very pleased. I'm very happy with it. It works very well. I'm going to do a special video on prices. I want to talk about them. I want to talk about how to properly resell your iPhone, or at least about the solutions that exist to resell your iPhone and that aren't necessarily promoted. In terms of just the physical characteristics of the phones, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is a little less wide, a little less high. It's a matter of a millimeter or less, a little thicker and lighter. We've lost 19.9 G, which doesn't seem like much, but the addition of titanium compared to polished steel must have something to do with it, so all the better. The edges are a little rounder. Here you can see the notches, the edges here and there are a little more rounded. Yeah, it's a little less salient. At least that's how I feel when I see it like this. It's not much, but yeah, that's how I feel. The big difference is here on this famous switch on this side and the button on the other, on this famous button for the silent vibrating part, which now has the advantage of being a button you can adjust. What I really like, and I say it every time with the iPhone, is the old photo mode. The new one goes into configuration mode. What's going to be great is that it's going to put my whole iPhone X on my iPhone 15. So this is really interesting because it will transfer data from one to the other. There's not much left for you to do. After all the configuration exodus, I'd never seen that little part where he does the waiting configuration. So that's it, the stage configuration part. I'm going to skip that. It's not very important. It's not what interests us most today. I love it when it's finished, so we come back to it, take a look at it, and see what adjustments we can make and do a few tests, the first tests, the very small tests. After that, we'll meet up in 2 weeks' time to give you feedback on the use of the product after a full 12 days so that you can get an idea of what it can do. And we don't change. Afterwards, as I also say, I have iOS 17 here. I have iOS 17 here. Well, it's still an iPhone, so I'll talk about that in the conclusion. But there are no big, crazy changes. On the other hand, as I said earlier, there's a change of table, and that's the action button. Here we have an action button right here. And here, hop, I hope you'll see, is the proposed action button. And so the mute, do not disturb, camera, flashlight, voice memo, magnifier, shortcut, accessibility, and action buttons. For the moment, I've left that, but what's interesting, for example, I'll take the torch. Let's say we need the torch. Up, voilà. Usually you have to swipe. Once you've swiped here, you set the torch. Voilà, okay. Here, if we use the torch a lot, I don't need you. I just press for a long time, so it's not that long, and then I press again and it goes out. Okay. I would have loved to. Maybe this will come in an update so that we can have different controls with 1 press, 2 presses, and 3 presses. Arrested. This exists on other products, and if you want to do it with the back, you can have it on the back. I'd have liked it if I could have just 1 press, another press, camera or flashlight, 2 presses, camera, press, silent mode. But it would have been great if I could have chosen more than just the number of presses. Because if I want to put it on vibrate, silent, I have to go to settings, I have to go to the control center, I have to press the little bell, and voila, I've activated the silent mode. It's just a little regret. I think that software should be able to handle it. It would be nice if they thought about it. Because the action button flows. It's not revolutionary, but it's a nice step forward. But having just 1 action to choose from. We'll certainly choose the ones we use most often. I'm thinking of people who, for example, often use voice memos, 2 presses, launch the voice memo, which would have been really cool. In this case, a single action on the button is a bit of a shame. But that's the way it is. On the screen, the technology is the same. On the other hand, the edges are a little thinner. It's very light. You really have to put them next to each other. But the black edges on each side here are a little thinner on the iPhone. So we're getting a little closer to the ends, which is good. In terms of the number of pixels and pixel density on the screen, it's the same between the 14 and the 15. You didn't want to listen, but I've just tested the speakers a little to see if they spit, or at least if they have the same power. It sounds very similar to me, but it's rarely mentioned in tests. Sometimes there are breakthroughs there. I think he would have noticed. So I'll carry on and we'll test the video. So I'll take a look, and then in the conclusion we'll see how it turns out. So I test in selfie mode is normally pretty good. So I'm looking at the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and now I'm looking at the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Is there a difference in quality? I'm going to say it to the screen here. Everything is qualitative. Both are qualitative. There's not much to say about that. Well, we have an idea in post-production, which I'll mention in the conclusion. I've made a little progress on the various aspects of this iPhone 15 Pro Max in natural titanium colours. I'll show you some of the tests I've carried out. Once again, it's a presentation video, unpacking and getting to grips with it, and I'll share my impressions with you right after. Well, it's still an iPhone, let's face it. I'm very pleased. I really like the colour, it's really nice. In terms of specifications, there's a little guy, maybe in terms of photos, but really, I didn't feel anything crazy. So I didn't use a lot of other things. I didn't follow some of the aspects that Apple highlighted. Well, in terms of videos, I wasn't won over. The only thing I find interesting is the X5, right? This is the telephoto lens. On the third we had 1, 2, 3. Now we have 1, 2, X5. Well, the 5 times, it's true that it zooms quite nicely. It zooms hard. I haven't tested USB-C yet, but I'll do some tests for data transfers. I'm going to try and shoot a video with the iPhone so I can make a transfer. I can tell the difference, because today with the iPhone 14 Pro Max I'm doing AirDrop, which takes a long time. I've had it. If it takes a few seconds, it's going to be pure bliss. I'm also going to test recording on an external medium to see whether it works or not, but that's all in the second video. Today I'm going to give you my feedback on it. Well, as usual, like last year, same conclusion. If I have the iPhone 14 or even 13, do I need to change? Do I want to change? These are two independent questions. Personally, I find that it's often difficult to resell an iPhone, but I'm going to make a special video on how to resell your iPhone, etc. I'll say it again. In any case, we can pass on, change every year. Maybe there are a few less losses. We can think about it like that, see how it works. Well, the new chip, I couldn't take advantage of it, so I don't know. But the 14 already worked very well. So like every year, are we changing or not? It's more a question of taste, a question of the latest products, a question of guarantee. But is it just a question of the iPhone's capacity or performance? I'm not sure. Here it works well, the action button, a little novelty. It's still an iPhone, it's still a great product. I say it every time, I like it a lot. Of course, I've been using it for years. Once the edges have been brushed, rather than brushed, they're still there. You can still see a few reflections, but the titanium finish is very pretty, and it's much less likely to pick up fingerprints than the previous iPhones. Barely 20G difference, I can't feel it. What's it like? It's less than 10% of the price of the product, so you can always take it a little lighter, which is great, but then again, 20 grams isn't that big either. All in all, a revolutionary evolution. This iPhone evolution, if you have very standard, very classic uses, perhaps revolutionary for certain uses. I'm thinking of the X5 in video. I'm thinking of recording on an external medium. That's something I'm going to test. Yeah, that'll be revolutionary to a certain extent, but otherwise for everything else, evolution. Nice evolution, but no revolution. I'll see you in 15 days. I'm going to push the test further. I'm going to give feedback on the battery, on lots of other things about what I've seen different or not with the iPhone, or confirm certain things. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about reselling your iPhone. We often think of reselling, so if you've got the know-how, it's easy. You can go to sites like Leboncoin, but there are also sites that buy back iPhones, and that might not be such a bad alternative, and I'm going to tell you all about it in next week's video. So don't miss this next video. Or if you've already enjoyed this video here today, if you're interested, if you're discovering the world of this channel, Cyril's Tests, Cyril, that's me, then I invite you to give it a thumbs up, to subscribe, to activate the bell. If you have any questions, comments are just below. I'll see you next week for another test. Until then, take care of yourself.